Hello children, we have a beautiful story with a beautiful message. मैं पहले मैसेज नहीं बताऊंगी. Let us first read the story. The title is The Jar of Greed. Once there lived a potter in a village. Potter जानते हैं ना, जो मिट्टी के घड़े बर्तन इत्यादि बनाते हैं. He was an expert artisan. His pots were beautiful and sold at a good price. His earning was enough to look after his day-to-day needs, but there was hardly anything he could save. The potter wanted his wife to look like a rich woman, wearing expensive ornaments, but he was not able to save even a penny. His inability to save made the potter desperate. So he said to his wife, I want you to have many gold ornaments, so you must save as much as you can. अब एक कुम्हार जितने मर्जी घड़े या मिट्टी के बर्तन बना कर के बेचे, वो इतने पैसे नहीं कमा सकता था कि अपनी वाइफ के लिए बहुत सुंदर सोने के गहने खरीद सके, और ये उसकी डिज़ायर थी कि वो ऐसा करे. तो उसने अपनी वाइफ से कहा कि जितना बचा सकती हो बचत करो. As you might know, the women are fond of ornaments. शायद ही कोई होगी जिसको गहने पसंद नहीं. So the potter's wife began to save as much as she could. Thus passed many weeks, but their saving was not enough to buy a ring even, let alone any other expensive necklaces and bangles. As the potter's desire became harder to realize, he had an idea up his mind. He said to his wife, cut on food expenses as much as you can. We can do without one meal a day. दिन में एक टाइम का खाना बंद करने का सोच लिया इन्होंने, ताकि और पैसे बचा सकें. Now they began to have 2 meals a day instead of 3. It had an adverse impact on their health. They were now weaker than before. They became weaker and thinner with every passing day. Still, the potter's desire to have gold ornaments did not diminish. They went without one meal for many months, and at last were able to save enough for a necklace, though not a very heavy and expensive necklace. But the potter was not content with it. He wanted his wife to have more gold ornaments. But there was no more possibility of cutting down any more of his expenditures. He thought over ways how to hasten the process of accumulating gold ornaments. The idea that struck his mind was to increase the price of his pots. He doubled the price of his pots. He earned more now, but that was not yet enough to fulfill his desire. A few more weeks passed thus. The potter, as was his wont, used to go for a long walk in the morning to keep good health. सुबह सैर करनी अच्छी होती है. One day, he was out on a stroll in the woods. His mind was, as usual, deep sunk in thoughts about gold ornaments. Just then he heard a voice. It seemed to emanate from a tree. शायद इस tree से आ रही थी. The voice said, "O potter, is it that you want gold?" "Yes, I do," cried back the potter in desperation. "I want to be rich." "Will it satisfy your desire if you get 5 jars of gold?" the voice said. "Yes, it should," said the astonished potter. भाई उसकी तो इच्छा ही पूरी होने जा रही थी ना. "Well, then run back to your cottage. You will find 5 jars of gold," said the voice before it fell silent. The potter wondered what he should do, and then he began to run towards his cottage, praying in his heart all the while that he might get those 5 jars of gold as promised by the voice. It was true. There were indeed 5 jars of gold. They all were closed with lids. His wife sat down near the jars with amazement in her eyes. They took some time to come to their own. टाइम लगा ये रियलाइज़ करने में कि वाकई में 5 ऐसे जार्स उनके सामने हैं. Then his wife removed the lid of the first jar. She exclaimed, "Yes, it is full of gold." The potter too stooped over the jar to see what lay inside it. It was full of molten gold right up to the brim. Then she removed the lid of the second jar. It was also full of gold. The third and the fourth too were full of gold. Their happiness knew no bounds. किसी को भी इतना सारा गोल्ड मिलेगा वो खुशी होएगा. Only one pot remained to be seen. Let us keep these pots in safe custody, said the potter. Yes, we ought to, but let us see the 5th pot if it is full of gold, suggested his wife. Sure, we ought to do that, said the potter, and he removed the lid. But no, the pot was half full, or say half empty as the potter perceived it. भाई ग्लास में पानी आधा ग्लास भरा हुआ है पानी का या आधा ग्लास खाली है, ये तो देखने वाले पर ही डिपेंड करता है. इस पॉटर को क्या लगा? ऐसा नहीं कि वो 5th जार आधा भरा हुआ है गोल्ड से, उसको लगा ये तो आधा खाली है. You opened it, so only it is half empty, shouted the potter's wife. उसको लगा कि वो खोलती तो शायद पूरा पॉट भरा हुआ मिलता गोल्ड का. अब क्योंकि पॉटर ने खोला शायद इसलिए आधा था. Oh yes, I should have let you open it. I think हम सभी कभी ना कभी थोड़ा सा ना सुपरस्टिशियस हो जाते हैं, जैसे ये पॉटर और उसकी वाइफ हो गए. But you need not worry about it. We will fill it with gold and make it as full as the other pots are, said the potter. क्या ये सही सोच थी? भाई जितना गोल्ड मिला है उसी पे खुश हो जाओ. So what happened next? The potter took the necklace and the ring that his wife had and got them melted at the village jeweler. But alas, it was hardly sufficient to fill it to the brim. The 5th jar remained half full as it was before. The potter sold all the utensils and exchanged them for gold, but the jar remained half full. He sold the little furniture he had, but the level of gold in the 5th jar remained as it was before. His wife and he further reduced their meals from 2 to 1, but it failed to raise the level of gold in weeks. It drove them to extreme desperation. Physically too, they were thinner and weaker. भाई अब एक टाइम खाना खाओगे और मेहनत पूरी करोगे, कमज़ोर तो हो ही जाओगे ना. One day, as the potter passed by the landlord's place, the latter called him and said, "What is the matter? You have grown quite thin and weak. Are you ill?" "I am not ill," replied the potter. "Then there must be something very sad, for your face is very gloomy these days," inquired the landlord. "There is nothing serious. It is money that I am worried about," said the potter. "Money? But you should be having a lot of it because you have doubled the prices of your pots," said the landlord. The potter contemplated in his mind whether he should tell the landlord that he was worried about more and more gold. He had not told anyone about the 5 jars. The landlord was a helpful, kind-hearted man, so the potter decided to reveal the secret. He told everything and added, "It is the 5th jar that I have miserably failed to fill up to the brim. It is what has driven me crazy." Listening to this, the landlord laughed loudly and for long. The potter looked at him with wide open eyes without understanding what made him laugh. The landlord said, "So you are fixed in a trap." "What trap?" said the potter, still bewildered at the sudden change of behavior of the landlord. The landlord said, It was I who was offered those jars. I too found the fifth jar half full. But instead of filling it with my gold, I went to the tree and asked why it was half full. Then, said the potter, the voice said, the fifth jar would always remain half full, the landlord said. What happened next? The potter said anxiously. The voice fell silent, even though I tried my best to get answers from it. But I understood that it was a trap. The voice meant that the jar always remains empty, however hard I might try to fill it. It meant that this jar was the jar of greed, which is never fulfilled, explained the landlord. आप भी समझे? हम ज़रूरत की चीज़ें बहुत इकट्ठा कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर हमारे अंदर ग्रीड आ जाए तो हम अपने आसपास जितनी भी वेल्थ या चीज़ें इकट्ठी कर लें वो कम ही लगेंगी. जो फिफ्थ जार था वो जार ऑफ ग्रीड था जो कभी भर ही नहीं सकता था. Then how did you get rid of the trap? Asked the potter. It was not at all difficult, said the landlord. I asked the tree to take back its 5 jars. When I went home, all the jars had disappeared. Are you sure of what you said? Asked the potter. There is no doubt in it, replied the landlord. The potter straightway went to the tree and requested it to take back the 5 jars of gold which had made his life miserable. When the potter reached back home, the jars had all vanished, and with it had also vanished the gold that he had put into it. अपनी वाइफ की वो सोने की चेन और वो रिंग मेल्ट करवा के डाली थी, वो भी गई. He had lost even his utensils and furniture, to earn which he would have to work hard. Still, he and his wife felt greatly relieved. So I hope अब हम कभी भी greedy नहीं बनेंगे.